Welcome, everyone, to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into a historically verified, totally declassified mystery about American cities. And honestly, it is going to completely shift how you look at the streets you walk on every single day. Picture this. For 6 straight days, a fine gray mist just drifts over a bustling city. 800,000 residents are literally breathing it in as they commute, grab coffee, and just go about their daily lives. But here's the kicker. Not a single one of them was warned. Nobody was told what it was. There were no hidden underground labs, no clipboards with consent forms. The experiment? Well, it was the city itself. Section 1. A city covered in mist. So, over several different decades, ordinary folks witnessed this incredibly strange phenomenon. We're talking men in full-blown protective suits spraying an unknown mist into the air. But you know what's crazy? The typical reaction from residents was surprisingly casual. People just assumed the spray, which was coming from the backs of station wagons and even rooftops, was, routine mosquito control or maybe some municipal air cleaning thing. They literally just went back inside and completely forgot about it. But declassified government files have since proven it was something else entirely. Section 2. Target, San Francisco, 1950. Let's rewind to September 1950. The military wanted to simulate exactly how a biological weapon would spread if an enemy released it over a major American city. So here's what they did. A Navy ship, positioned just off the coast, sprayed a massive cloud of live bacteria right out over the water. Naturally, the coastal wind caught it and carried that bacteria directly back over the city, blanketing 800,000 completely unaware residents. Then they tracked how far it spread using 43 monitoring stations scattered all over San Francisco. It is an incredibly cold, clinical approach, right? They were treating the entire city, not as a living community, but as a giant test surface. Now, what's really fascinating here is the specific type of live bacteria the military chose. It actually produced a bright red pigment, and that was absolutely no accident. That bright red color meant the military could easily track its path as it drifted down the streets, over the buildings, and, right through hundreds of thousands of human lungs. Section 3. The accountability loophole. Well, things took a very real, very dark turn on October 11th, 1950. Just weeks after that spraying, 11 people checked into a local hospital with a really rare, serious infection. One of those patients was a man named Edward Nevin, who tragically passed away 3 weeks later. When his family eventually found out about the secret spraying, they sued the government. And here's the wild part. The government actually didn't deny it. They fully admitted on the record that the test and the spraying were 100% real. Yet, the government won the case. Why? Because the bacteria was thought to be harmless at the time, so a direct legal link, proving that this exact cloud caused this exact death, it just couldn't be definitively proven in court. Section 4. 239 tests. Now, you might be telling yourself right now, okay, this was just a one-off, right? A single paranoid mistake made during the height of the Cold War. Actually, scratch that. It wasn't. This was a systemic, massive program. The sheer scale of this operation was finally admitted under oath during a 1977 Senate hearing. The magic number? 239. Between 1949 and 1969, a 20-year span, the Army conducted 239 open-air tests over populated areas. That means hundreds of times, American cities were basically used as live test subjects. Section 5. The Moscow Stand-in. This brings us to an even darker chapter during the 1950s and 60s in St. Louis, Missouri. Now here, the military wasn't spraying bacteria. Instead, they were spraying zinc cadmium sulfide. Basically, it's a fine chemical powder containing cadmium, which is a toxic metal. And they sprayed this stuff everywhere, from blowers on rooftops, from vehicles driving down the streets, and even from planes flying overhead. But the heaviest targeting? That was centered directly on the Pruitt-Igey public housing complex, which was home to about 10,000 mostly poor Black residents. And there is a truly shocking declassified statistic we have to talk about here. Of the residents in that housing complex who were being unknowingly sprayed with this chemical powder, 70% of them were children under the age of 12. Think about that for a second. 70%. And just like in San Francisco, they were never told a thing. So, why St. Louis? Well, the city was chosen because its population density, its terrain, and its river layout were pretty much a near-perfect match for a Soviet target. The people of St. Louis were literally being used as a living analog to rehearse a potential attack on Moscow. It's like they turned the city into a giant, real-world game board. And this story is actually still developing today. A researcher filing Freedom of Information Act requests uncovered documents that led to allegations that radioactive particles might have actually been mixed into that spray. Now, to be perfectly clear, the government officially denies this radioactive mixing. An official review concluded that the public was likely not harmed by the chemical, but, and this is a big but, they also admitted that their data is thin and the research is really sparse. So the absolute certainty regarding any long-term harm, that remains a major point of dispute today. Section 6. How would you know? So the absolutely crucial question is, how did these massive operations, which were conducted completely out in the open, over real streets and real neighborhoods, manage to stay a secret for decades? Well, the truth didn't just emerge all at once. The initial scope was only revealed in a 1977 Senate hearing. Then, a major batch of documents was released in 1994. And in the decades following that, it was really driven by dedicated researchers and affected families filing endless public records requests, basically prying the files loose one by one. Nobody just confessed unprompted. People had to really go digging for it. Which leaves us with a deeply unsettling thought to wrap up this explainer. If your town was being used as an experiment, quietly, right out in the open for years, how would you ever know?